Hi everyone, wishing all of you a very happy Ganesh Chaturthi. It's a day that has brought in an auspicious new beginning. India's democracy has a new home. The move to the new parliament was made today, but there is nothing changing India's politics. We will talk about that in just a bit, but first take a look at these historic pictures. It is a day which will be etched in our history. After 96 years of debate, discussions, dharna and drama, our members of parliament bid goodbye to the old parliament complex and entered the future. It began with a joint photo op session outside the old parliament complex. Take a look at these pictures, ladies and gentlemen. Nearly 800 leaders on one platform. Even the cameras couldn't capture them in a single frame. All nostalgic as they bid adieu to the building that was the repository of our democracy. Then these parliamentarians gathered at the central hall of the old parliament for one last time. In the new parliament, there is no central hall. Prime Minister Modi gave an emotional farewell to the building, which was the repository of time for nearly a century. He also proposed that the old parliament be renamed Samvidhan Sadan.
हम जब नए सदन में जा रहे हैं तब इसकी गरिमा कभी भी कम नहीं होनी चाहिए। इसे सिर्फ पुरानी पार्लियामेंट कहकर के छोड़ दें, ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए। और इसलिए मेरी प्रार्थना है कि भविष्य में अगर आप सहमति दे दोनों महानुभाव, तो इसको संविधान सदन के रूप में जाना जाए। ताकि ये हमेशा हमारे रक्षा के लिए हमारी जीवन प्रेरणा बनी रहेगी। और जब संविधान सदन कहेंगे तब उन महापुरुषों का याद भी उसके साथ जुड़ जाएगी जो कभी संविधान सभा में यहां बैठा करते थे, गणमान्य महापुरुष बैठा करते थे। और इसलिए भावी पीढ़ी को ये तोहफा भी देने का अवसर हमें जाने नहीं देना चाहिए।
At the stroke of 1 p.m., the MPs led by Prime Minister Modi walked into the future. They bid goodbye to the old parliament and 5 minutes later, they entered the new temple of democracy. Congress MPs decided to send out a symbolic message as they entered the new parliament. Adhir Ranjan Chowdhury, flanked by Rajeev Gandhi, was seen holding the constitution in his hands. Those are the pictures there. And then they came to an official end to the suspense that has been building up ever since the special session was announced. Turns out that all the media speculation was right. The #1 agenda for the new parliament is the Women's Reservation Bill. It's got a new name though and is now called the Nari Shakti Vandan Bill. The Prime Minister introduced the bill that mandates 33% quota for women in the Lok Sabha and state assemblies and Delhi as well. He claimed God had given him this opportunity and called the passage of the bill an Agni Pariksha for all MPs.
महिलाओं को अधिकार देने का, महिलाओं की शक्ति का उपयोग करने का वो काम शायद ईश्वर ने ऐसे कई पवित्र काम के लिए मुझे चुना है। आज इस ऐतिहासिक मौके पर नए संसद भवन में सदन की पहली कार्यवाही के रूप में उस कार्यवाही के अवसर पर देश के इस नए बदलाव का आह्वान किया है और देश की नारी शक्ति के लिए सभी सांसद मिलकर के नए प्रवेश द्वार खोल दें, इसका आरंभ हम इस महत्वपूर्ण निर्णय से करने जा रहे हैं।
history shows us old parliament or new, some things never change. Ruckus ensued on the first day itself when Congress leader Adhir Ranjan Chowdhury claimed the Women's Reservation Bill was the brainchild of former Prime Minister Rajeev Gandhi and that the BJP is introducing the same bill which was tabled during Manmohan Singh's regime in 2010. Was that factually correct? We'll find that out a little later on the show. His remarks drew a sharp rebuttal from Home Minister Amit Shah, who reminded Adhir that the bill under the Congress lapsed in 2014.
राजीव जी की सरकार, नरसिम्हा राव जी की सरकार, फिर डॉक्टर मनमोहन जी की सरकार, अलग अलग सरकारों ने अलग अलग समय पर अपनी हैसियत के अनुसार उसको पास कराने की प्रयास किया। कभी राज्यसभा में पास होता था, लोकसभा में नहीं होता था, कभी लोकसभा में होता था, राज्यसभा में गिर जाता था। डॉक्टर मनमोहन सिंह की सरकार के वक्त जो ये बिल आया वो आज तक जीवित है, राज्यसभा में पास हुआ है। हमारी CWC कांग्रेस कार्य समिति की बैठक में जो रेजोल्यूशन पास हुआ, प्रस्ताव पारित हुआ, उसमें ये मांग की गई है कि ये जो आने वाले विशेष सत्र है इसमें महिला आरक्षण की उस बिल को पास किया जाए, पारित किया जाए। ये बहुत महत्वपूर्ण है, ऐतिहासिक है। आपको ज्ञान है कि पूर्व कांग्रेस अध्यक्षा श्रीमती सोनिया गांधी ने पत्र भी लिखा था हमारे प्रधानमंत्री जी को, पत्र लिखा था। हम फिर से उस मांग को इस प्रस्ताव के जरिए दोहराते हैं।
सर, गृह मंत्री जी क्लैरिफिकेशन देना चाहते हैं। सर कृपया अलो कर दिया जाए। सर माननीय गृह मंत्री जी, मैं माननीय अधीर रंजन जी ने दो चीजें फैक्चुअली इनकरेक्ट कही है, या तो वो विड्रॉ करे या तो आपने सदन के टेबल पर उसको रखवाना चाहिए। एक, महिला आरक्षण बिल लोकसभा में पास हुआ था, कभी पास नहीं हुआ। और दो, कि ये बिल पुराना लोकसभा में लंबित है। ये बिल 2014 में ही लोकसभा के विघटन के साथ ही ये बिल निरस्त कर दिया गया। माननीय अध्यक्ष, दोनों स्टेटमेंट फैक्चुअल इनकरेक्ट स्टेटमेंट है। इनकी स्पष्टता मैं आपसे अपेक्षा करता हूं कि इसकी स्पष्टता उनसे मांगी जाए, या तो रिकॉर्ड से दूर किया जाए या तो वो उसके समर्थन में कोई डॉक्यूमेंट टेबल पर रखें।
And similar scenes were witnessed in the House of Elders as well, when leader of the opposition Mallikarjun Kharge, while detailing the need for the Women's Reservation Bill, said all parties give ticket to weak women leaders.
Incorrect statement has been made by the opposition leader. Payments on GST. I will give you complete data.
Now, this drew a very sharp response from Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman, who called Mr. Kharge's comments unacceptable, citing the example of President Draupadi Murmu.
Leader of the opposition, but to make a sweeping statement.
Now, the politics, the tutu meme, the tamasha, these, ladies and gentlemen, are all sideshows. Let them not distract you from something that will have a far-reaching impact on our participative democracy. It's an affirmative action that will give greater voice to women in parliament and state assemblies. As things stand today, India has 48.5% women and only 15% women MPs. In state assemblies, that figure is even worse. It's about 9 to 10%. Let's take a close look at this bill, understand what it is. While a majority of the points are similar to what was proposed in the previous bills, there are some key additions to the new bill that was tabled today. So it's not exactly the one that the Congress had tabled. Let us start from the basics. 33% of seats under this bill will be reserved for women in elected assemblies, which essentially means in the Lok Sabha, your state legislative assemblies, in Delhi as well. But there will not be any reservation for women in the Rajya Sabha and state legislative councils where members are not elected by you. Further, within the 33% quota, a further 33% has been set aside for women belonging to the SC and ST communities, which means there is a quota within a quota. This was the demand of many regional parties. But before you start thinking that the change we all have been waiting for is imminent, well, just hold your horses. The Women's Reservation Bill will only be implemented after the next delimitation exercise, which in itself can only take place after the first census, which is scheduled for 2026. It's long pending, now scheduled for 2026. Hence, the 182 reserved seats we have been talking about for women is only likely to come into force during and after the 2029 elections, which means nothing for the 2024 election. Nevertheless, the very introduction of this bill is nothing short of historic for India, which has only 15% MPs in the present Lok Sabha. Now, if we see the worldwide figures, 26.5% of parliamentarians globally are women. Only 6 countries can boast of having 50% or more women representatives in their assemblies, while 23 countries have 40% or more female parliamentarians at the present. But how does India fare against the already developed nations? Well, let's break it down for you. The United States Congress has 146 women leaders, which is just a little over 27% of the total seats. The US Senate has 24 women representatives in a House of 100, which means 24%. The United Kingdom has a better record. In the House of Commons, 223 of the 647 seats are occupied by women. That is a very respectable 34%. In our defense, both these countries are developed nations and they have had a massive head start over India. But what's concerning is that India boasts of fewer women leaders in its parliament, even when compared to Pakistan, a nation known for its regressive ideology. In 342-member Assembly of Pakistan, 69 of them are women. That is a little over 20%, which is 5% higher than ours.
Finally, it's coming. Women Reservation Bill. Women's Reservation Bill. अपना है. आपने कई बार लिखा भी था मोदी सरकार ने.
Let me go across to our guests who are joining me this evening. Bansuri Swaraj is Secretary, Delhi BJP. Sujata Paul is spokesperson of the Congress Party. And Dr. Rajni R. Menon is a gender expert. She is joining us as well. Sujata ji, I'm going to start with you first because the Congress has put out a very interesting tweet. First, we saw a credit war break out in Parliament. We had Sonia Gandhi. Mrs. Sonia Gandhi says, it's ours, apna hai, which means the Congress is owning it. Now comes this. The Congress says, and I'm quoting the tweet, and I'm just going to put out the graphic as well there for our viewers. What more can be expected from you, Mr. Prime Minister? This colossal betrayal shatters the hopes of millions of Indian women and girls. The Women's Reservation Bill is in limbo, tied to the next census, and the critical delimitation process hinges on the next census. The Modi government has not yet conducted the 2021 census. I want to ask you why you are calling this another Jumla and another empty promise. The fact is that the Women's Reservation Bill has been tabled. The fact is that most parties, including the Congress Party, are behind it, backing it. Fact is, if all goes well, we will have 33% reservation for women in Parliament and in state assemblies. Why call it a colossal betrayal? If it doesn't happen in 2024, it will happen in 2029, as long as it happens.
As far as women are concerned, because this is Vishwasghat through a Jumla that the Prime Minister has given. When he called for a special session of the Parliament, we thought that the Women's Reservation Bill could be one of the things that was going to be spoken about. But now we are hearing that this is going to be introduced. Now, after that, what is going to happen? First, you have the census which has to take place, and you know that according to Article 81(3), this has to happen after 2026. That means the census which happens after that. And after the census is published, the delimitation has to take place. After the delimitation takes place, then this act is going to be implemented. Isn't that weird in itself, that you are bringing in an act in a special parliament session, making it out to be something that is the need of the hour, which it is, but you are postponing it to such a far off date, and we don't even know what the date is, because this is like a post dated check, which God knows when it's going to be encashed, and by the time it's going to be encashed, things might have changed drastically, and you might need more changes in the act itself. So what we feel is that this is a Jumla which is being given by the BJP government, and it just wants to use this for their elections to show that they have passed the Women Reservation Bill. It's really sad, when we got the 2010 bill. In that, we were going straight to the reservation. No, we didn't have to pass through the stages of census and then the delimitation to come to the reservation. So this has really, been very, very disheartening.
So Sujata Paul, okay. I will let Bansuri respond to that, but here's my simple question to you, right? There'll be a discussion. Finally, the bill will come up for passage in the Lok Sabha and the Rajya Sabha in this session itself, if all goes well. Will the Congress party back it or not?
It has been the dream of all our leaders that women get more space in the political arena. And unless women are out there in the parliament, in the assemblies, policy making is not going to be as effective with different perspectives, especially a woman's perspective in it. And that is why we do want it to be passed. But let us see what happens tomorrow once the discussions happen. Let's see. We'll just have to wait and watch for that.
Okay, so you're not making a commitment right now. You're saying it, you back it, but we'll see what happens. Bansuri Swaraj, would you want to come in here? The simple question is, why put in the clause for the census exercise and the delimitation exercise to take place before the act can be implemented? Why not do it in 2024? Why should women of India have to wait till 2029?
Thank you, Shreya. So first of all, let me just respond to what Sujata ji had said. See, the fact is that it is only with the vision of Prime Minister Modi that today we're not talking about women empowerment, we're talking about women-led development. We're talking about where women are not merely passive beneficiaries of scheme. We're talking about how women need to become the sculptors of the destiny of India. And therefore, political participation of women is extremely important to effectuate policy. Now, coming to the fact as to why is it being implemented post 2029 but of course, because the 2024 elections are not that far away, and obviously such a mammoth country like ours needs that 2026 consensus to happen and for proper implementation. Now, just responding to what Sujata ji said about Vishwasghat and betrayal, just look at the history of this particular bill. In 2010, when the Congress-led UPA government tabled the bill in Rajya Sabha, it was the BJP which was in opposition, but as a mature opposition, the BJP supported the bill, and that is why the bill was passed in the Rajya Sabha. When it was tabled, and then the Congress refused to table it in Lok Sabha. But if you remember, there were these graceful, very encouraging visuals of the then leader of the opposition and Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, saying that again, we will together go ahead and pass this bill. So the BJP was willing to back the Congress in the Lok Sabha in 2010. But the problem is that the Congress leadership, in fact, there is an interview of Mrs. Sonia Gandhi on record where she said that there are alliance partners are unwilling to back this bill, and therefore we are not going to table it in the Lok Sabha. So that is the Vishwasghat that the UPA government, it was merely a lip service and just an eyewash. Pradhan Mantri Modi backs his words with action, and therefore when he said we're talking about women-led development, we're talking about Nari ke नेतृत्व में सशक्तिकरण, and that is
Bansuri.
why the Nari Shakti Vandan bill has been brought and tabled, and I'm sure that it will be passed in the special session.
Let's not forget who got in the Panchayati Raj reservation for women. It was the Congress party. But Bansuri, please help our viewers understand why a census and a delimitation exercise is necessary for an affirmative action like the Women's Reservation Bill. जरूरत क्या है? आपके पास पार्टी है, आपको महिलाएं देखनी है जिनको आप फील्ड कर सकते हैं in the 2023 elections and field them. Why complicate it? Why put it through so much processes?
Because we want to make sure that the other political parties are equally committed to it. The fact is, if you have a consensus, you have the delimitation, then you will have 182 reserved seats and every political party will have to actually commit to it. What is going to happen otherwise is you are just going to have the relatives or the rishtadars or weaker candidates which are going to be pitched. The issue is that part of the Ghamandiya alliance, whether it is RJD or it is you know that Mr. Lalu Prasad Yadav and Mr. Mulayam Singh's party have been vehemently opposing this bill. They are all part of the opposition alliance today. And therefore, in the past, just the way the Congress succumbed to the pressures of its allies when it was still in power in 2010, we want to ensure that this is a step, this is an affirmative action for the sake and the good of the country. And therefore, once you have a proper implementation with the 2026 census and then the proper reservation, then of course in the 2029 elections, it will not be merely a lip service.
Shreya, can I come in?
Okay, 20 seconds, and then I want to get in Dr. Menon. Go ahead, Sujata, respond to what Bansuri is saying.
Yes, this is the problem. You have to have a man deciding for us, and we have to wait for another 5 years. And let me remind Ms. Swaraj that Yogi Adityanath and Uma Bharti ji, both of them opposed the bill at that time, even though the BJP was supporting it. So let's not get there as to who was opposing it at that time and who is with you. We are all with you because we are all women and we want women representation in the Lok Sabha, in the assemblies. How can you just come up and say that, we have to wait? Are you trying to say that women leaders are not prepared, not ready for elections? They can't go into the electoral politics? As soon as this is announced, this should have been done immediately. And in 2010 also, the draft took us straight to the reservations.
Let me ask the non-politician on the panel.
Yes.
Okay. Let me ask the non-politician on this panel. Dr. Menon, do you buy the logic that the BJP is giving, tying up and linking women's reservation to the next census and the next delimitation that happens in the country? Because that will only push it for another 6 years.
Shika, good evening. I think, we really welcome the Nari Shakti Vandan bill, the cabinet not to that. But at the same time, it's really sad that the equal political participation of women in the parliament is still waiting its fruition, because it's been like more than 2 decades of struggle of the women's rights movement putting this agenda into the place, because we want to see a mirror of our society and the parliament as same. It's very important to really see from a gender equal lens. So in that way, we see that India, at the global average level, it's 26.5%, where India has only 15% of female representation in the parliament and legislatures. So in that way, I think it's very critical for us to understand that we can't wait for so long for an implementation to happen, and all the census and the delimitation exercise. This was sad for the women's rights movement as a whole. And I think that, assuming that women can really create their own level playing field to get into the political arena without an affirmative action is really a misplaced thought. And from our years of experience, we feel that, there are efficient women who can really come up with their voice and power. And we need to really carve out space for them, and we should not delay this process, and we should really get it done as soon as possible.
Bansuri Swaraj, that is a completely non-political person speaking, not aligned to the BJP, not aligned to the Congress, not aligned to the left, not aligned to anyone else. Fact is that, bringing in the Women's Reservation Bill on day one of the new parliament is a great idea. It's what all of us have been hoping for. Has it been soured a bit by the fact that it has been pushed by 6 years? Because when all of us were talking about it yesterday, we all thought that it would be implemented in 2023, that 2023 would usher in a new era for women in this country. So when the Congress says a colossal betrayal, their words may ring true in some circles.
No, they don't. They don't. Let me first answer Dr. Menon. And Shreya, you're absolutely right. This is a historical moment. Today is Ganesh Chaturthi, and finally the obstacles in this historic bill have been removed. It has been tabled, and as I said, I'm confident that the bill is going to be passed in this special session. Now, coming to what Dr. Menon has said, yes, affirmative action is necessary, and you're a non-political person, but Dr. Menon, we've had a very bitter experience. As I said, this particular bill, if you look at the history, in 1999, in 2000 and in 2003, the then Prime Minister, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee, had actually attempted to bring this particular bill in Parliament. Unfortunately, he was leading a coalition government and BJP did not have the numbers at the time, and therefore the bill was not passed. In 2010, when the UPA government brought the bill, the BJP actually supported the bill. It was passed in the Rajya Sabha. And then you have Mrs. Sonia Gandhi on record in an interview saying that we are unable to actually bring this bill or table it in Lok Sabha, despite the fact that the BJP was supporting the bill even in 2010, because the UPA or the Congress-led government's allies were unwilling to back the bill. Which means that we want to make sure that there is proper preparation. There should be a population census. There should be the delimitation exercise that should happen so that no political party, irrespective
but the
of whether
Congress is not asking for it. But the Congress is not asking for that census.
No,
the Congress is not asking for the delimitation exercise or the census. The opposition is not asking for it. ये तो आप जबरदस्ती offer कर रहे हैं with the bill.
नहीं,
to delay it.
नहीं, देखिए ऐसा है, इतिहास ने भी हमें 2-4 चीजें सिखाई हैं और हम लोग जो है दूध का जला छाछ को भी फूक फूक के पीता है। आप ये देखिए, आज के दिन विपक्ष की एकता की बात होती है, अलायंस बना है ना विपक्ष का, तो मुझे आप एक चीज बताइए, जब सरकार में रह के मजबूरियां कांग्रेस को सता रही थी, तो विपक्ष में रहकर इनके अलाइड पार्टनर्स जैसे मुलायम सिंह जी की पार्टी इस बिल के पक्ष में नहीं है, मुलायम सिंह जी की पार्टी इस बिल के पक्ष में नहीं है, काफी और इनके allies है जो पक्ष में नहीं है, तो they may succumb to those pressures. And fact of the matter is, we don't want a single political party to scuttle away from their responsibility. Therefore, we are ensuring that there is proper delimitation and there is responsibility fastened on everybody.
The TMC is backing you. You know, the BJP has the numbers in the Lok Sabha, the Rajya Sabha, the Congress is backing you, the TMC is backing you, the BRS is backing you, most southern parties are backing you, the Samajwadi Party and the BSP have other ideas. But Sujata, and that will hardly stall the bill. So I don't know, don't put this on the opposition. But Sujata Paul, I have exactly 20 seconds to wrap this show. Respond to what Bansuri is saying and we'll wrap this show.
Yeah, Shreya, there is no party today that is not going to want to back it. Even if you are talking about the Samajwadi Party or the JDU, nobody will be able to do it because women have reached a space where they are exerting themselves today. And I want to understand, if we were given the right for everything, equal rights by the Constitution in 1947, what are we waiting for? And it's really sad to see politicians say that we will not be prepared by 2024 for the Lok Sabha elections. Maybe you don't want to do it for the assembly elections. Maybe the BJP women leaders are not prepared. But if you had a coalition government which did not have the numbers, we also had a coalition, and we also had certain problems at that particular time. But today, when you're talking about this bill, it's taken you 9.5 years. So what is the problem here? The problem is that you really didn't want to do it. This is a Jumla of the Jumla TV government. Otherwise, you and I would be thinking of giving our names in for the 2024 Lok Sabha elections.
Okay, ladies, thank you very much. Sujata Paul, thank you for joining us. Bansuri Swaraj, thank you very much. And Dr. Menon, good to hear from you as well. Thank you very much. With that, I'm slipping into a quick break on the show. Coming up, the big international story that is brewing right now. Do stay with us.